colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying how do you do. They're really saying I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I ever knew. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful
All right, good afternoon. So the song this week is What a Wonderful World, a very famous song with a very interesting history. So it's written by George Davis Weiss and Bob Thiele. It was written in sometime before 67 because it was first recorded famously by Louis Armstrong in 1967. At the time, it was released in the UK as far as I know, and in the United States. I'm not sure where else, but it topped the charts in the UK. But in the United States, the president of ABC Records, what it was released under, did not like the song, whatever that means from what I read. So he didn't promote it, so it didn't do good. But then it made a reappearance in Good Morning Vietnam, which is a 1988 Robin Williams film, and I think it was somewhere in the 30s when it came back then. So it made it to the 30s in 1988. But at this point, it's a world famous song. If you ask your old timers, they're definitely going to know it. It's a very beautiful song. And if you heard it there, it's pretty basic. So it's triplets from beginning to end until you slow down at the final chord. But until then, it's just the same pattern. That's it. From beginning to end. The progression is pretty standard. The only chords that I really didn't run into, that I haven't run into before, is the 11 chord. So here's the C11, and it's quite, it's a very simple chord. You just bar up the, if I want to be on C, I'm on C on the A string, and I just bar all the way up on 3. And the way it transitions into the C7 is really nicely. The only parts that threw me for a loop are the little progressions at the end of each, refrain, I guess. So the beginning one goes F, F augmented, B flat major 7 to C7. So I had trouble just getting my hands to move quickly enough. Even in the recording, I don't nail it quite perfectly, but it goes like this. So even there, so that's something I'm working on, fast progressions like that. I imagine if you're a seasoned, jazz player, that's nothing for you at all. But I'm just getting started out. So that, progressions like that, threw me for a little bit of a loop. And then coming out of the bridge, the little progression where he slows down on I Love You. I think I ran into that diminished 7 chord before, but that's a little bit. If you're not used to this shape, it's definitely new outside of the standard cowboy chord. So if you're not used to it, might take a little bit getting used to nailing it. You're just barring 1 fret, and then you're fretting the 1 fret up on the high E and the G string. So it's not too bad once you get a little bit used to it. So it goes D minor to the G, diminished 7. And then the G G minor 7, the augmented, diminished augmented, and back to C7. Speaking of G minor 7, I did miss that at the end of my playthrough where he says, "Yes, I think to myself." So I did not hit this chord on "Think to Myself." And if you listen to the recording, it's a very nice sounding chord. So I'm sorry I missed that, but that's an important one at the end there. You can let that ring out. If you have any kind of whammy or tremolo system, you can use that. And then you go into the C7 flat 9, which is the same shape as the diminished chord up here, but it's reversed. So I'm fretting 3 on the A string, 2 on D, 3 on G, and 2 on B. And I can add, I think that's the 6th there on the 3rd fret of the G. So if you're not used to some of those chords, just get those under your belt and then get that triplet pattern. Again, it's the same thing. If you listen to the recording, it's primarily guitar. I mean, there's some strings in there and whatnot. And of course, I think there's the drum beat. But if you listen closely, it's a nice guitar part. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I chose it. It's a nice part that sticks out. Just get that triplet pattern under your hands, get that feel. So it's a great song. Again, if you learn this one, a lot of old timers are going to know because it's a famous song, from back in the day. But it's a great one today. It's kind of a timeless piece, Louis Armstrong. So if you're looking at jazz, I think it's a great one to learn because it's just such a classic. So give it a try. Get that triplet feel under your, get that triplet rhythm in your head there, and it shouldn't be too much of a problem once you work through any chords that you're not familiar with. But I hope you enjoyed this one. Have a good night.